Hi guys, welcome back to At Home with Holly. My name's Holly. I'm so glad that you're here with me today. Today we are going to be planting a tree. I have a mini orchard in my backyard garden, and one of the trees that I planted is a pear tree, which was my least favorite of all the trees that I planted because I don't really love pears. But it's what they had available at the time, so I got it, and it has not been looking awesome. It hasn't grown the same way. It's growing, but it's kind of spindly and not putting on and thrive. It's not thriving the way the rest of them are. So I picked up a second peach tree, because I already have one in the orchard. And so I picked up a different kind of peach tree, and we're going to replace it. And it is the perfect time to do this. They can root in and have a few weeks of me doing some supplemental water to really get established, and then they'll go dormant all winter and come back in the spring. So this is the perfect time. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the supplies that we need, get the tree. Actually, the tree is outside right there, sitting against my picnic table. So I'm gonna get everything we need, the supplies and a shovel, and we're gonna get started. We're also going to stake up one of the trees that I have out there. It's kind of got a little bit of a tilt, so we're gonna do some corrective staking so that it grows nice and straight and strong with the wind always coming from a certain direction. I normally plant my trees kind of leaning into the way the wind normally comes, and so that ends up straightening them out, and this is the one that I planted straight, and now it's leaning, so it's tilting. So I'll show you all that when we get out there. So we're gonna get the supplies, the stake, the shovel, and get going. I'm so glad that you're here. Okay, so the new replacement tree is a Carolina Bell peach. It's a white flesh peach. And looks good. They do have a stake on it, like a bamboo stake. I might leave that, but I'll definitely take it off in the spring if I leave that. So the first thing I'm going to do is move the tree guard. I just have that on for my younger trees because we have a lot of bunny rabbits and they love to chew on the small young trees and take little nibbles out of them. And so I was trying to give them a strong start. So the first thing I'm going to do is remove all of the wood chips that I have sitting on top of the soil around these trees. So when I planted these trees, I planted them originally from bare root. And so what I did was I dug the hole, pretty large, a substantial hole, and I planted them in there with the native soil, and then I put a layer of cardboard on top to stop the weeds. And then on top of the cardboard, I added some compost and then wood chips on top of that to keep all the moisture in. And so the cardboard has long since been eaten by the worms and turned into soil. And then the compost is still kind of sitting on top of the soil level. And then underneath is still the native soil that has been fed and nurtured by the compost sitting on top. But it's still pretty much native soil underneath. We have a very clay-rich soil around here. So what I'm doing is, after I planted them, last year, together we added the water ring around, and so it's a lot easier to add those rings when you first plant them. However, I added them after the tree was already established, so since I'm going to be removing this old tree, I'm going to take a second to go ahead and actually widen that hole so that the ring will sit a little more flush with the ground. So once I've gotten that hole, once I've gotten the original tree kind of loosened up and out, I'm going to remove the excess soil that's in the bottom of the hole so that I can backfill the new plant with the soil as well. So I'm going to remove that plant, and then I'm going to kind of dig around in there and loosen up the soil and actually make the hole a little wider so that our watering ring can fit inside. I am a big fan of these watering rings because it just makes sure that the water doesn't seep out into the grassy area around it. It all gets focused right down around the roots of the tree, around the drip line, so that it has a better chance of staying hydrated while the tree is growing when it's younger, and then also, you know, during periods of drought and stuff, if I am going to do some supplemental water, it actually is more of a targeted watering system so that it goes right to where it needs to be instead of watering the grass, because the grass does not need it. The tree does. So I'm just going around the circle and kind of breaking up some of the hard clay and removing any big clumps, getting the hole prepared for the new tree. Now, when we plant the new tree, I am not going to fertilize. You don't really want to fertilize when you first plant the tree. Again, you're trying to get the tree's roots to reach down and find all the minerals and the good stuff in your native soil. If you add a whole bunch of fluffy compost into the hole or lots and lots of fertilizer, then the tree doesn't ever really reach down for what it needs. All right, so that is the hole we're working with. I've got our ring, our watering ring, put back in. Now we'll get our peach tree added and fill it in with the native soil that we've got right here. So whenever you're planting trees, you want the native soil to be what's down around the new tree, because you want its roots to spread out in the native soil. You don't want it to have nice fluffy soil that it gets used to and then it won't reach further. So you want it to go for those nutrients and plant nice deep roots. So we've got the native soil back in there, and then we've got it topped with a mixture of compost and wood chips, just to give something to the worms. You can see a lot of the worms that I just dug up are sitting on top now. They'll go back down. And then you want to make like a donut, like a ring around this so that the water goes down there, and you want it planted to the same line that they had it planted at the nursery. And if there's a graft, which is right here, they grafted this dwarf tree to some other kind of rootstock, you want that to be facing north if you can. So we're gonna get this watered in and go from there. All right, one tree planted, one tree ready to go in a pot to give to anyone else that wants it. Okay, I'm gonna go in here and make sure this is off of the base a little bit more, and then we will move on to the next tree. So the next tree you can see is this one. So normally, like the one behind it, I planted a little bit leaning that way because the wind comes this direction. And you can see that this one I planted straight and it has toppled. So it's the perfect time to correct this right now. So I've got the stake, we're gonna get it in and get it lean in the right direction. So you actually are able to, there's a flat edge on the bottom of this tree stake, so you can, in theory, step on it or hammer it into the ground. I could not find my rubber mallet, so I grabbed a block of wood that I had and my regular hammer, and I just went ahead and used that as a buffer so that I didn't split the I didn't split the hard plastic. But it took a little bit of elbow grease, but we got this in. My ground is, we're going through a bit of a drought, and so my ground is clay and hard, and it took, like I said, a little bit of muscle to get this in. But I really like this stake because it doesn't like pull out at an angle. It's just nice and straight, and so you're able to pull a little bit, pull from a little bit higher on the tree. So I got this from Stark Bros, which is the same place that I got my newer peach tree, and it comes with one of these like silicone tie straps, and this is a 48-inch stake. So my tree was just a little bit short, but we got it down into the ground about as far as I can go, so I was pretty happy with where it ended up holding onto the tree. But I did purchase an extra silicone band so that I could pull from a little bit further out, so that I was able to get like the better angle that I needed. So I have 2 of the straps and 1 of the actual stake, and I'm pretty happy with the way this tree is looking. I think I'll leave that on for a little while until the base just naturally wants to grow that way, and then I can either move it to a different place on the tree or remove it all together, depending on how straight it's, or more towards going into the one that it's starting to naturally lean. So super happy with the way this one came out, and it was not hard at all to attach or to get situated in the ground at the right depth either, once I was able to figure out that I needed to grab that block of wood to be able to use the hammer to hammer it into my hard ground. So highly recommend this style of stake. It worked really well. This one's good to go. One last look at our new peach tree planted, and one final look at our tree that is now corrected and straight, even leaning just a little bit that way. I'm happy with that. That's a good day's work. All right, my friends, we got it all done. I want to thank you so much for spending today with me while we did a little work in our orchard. Thank you guys so much for all the likes and the comments and the shares. If you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. We have a whole lot more growing and gardening and cooking and preserving to do. So can't wait to see you guys next time. Thanks so much. Bye, friend.